About if it wasn't for the Willie Mays, the Jackie Robinson, the Reggie Jacksons, the three of us wouldn't have an opportunity to play. How emotional is it for you to come back to a play that you played with one of the greatest teams around?
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it.
Reggie Jackson walked to the plate in the 1977 World Series, and the Los Angeles Dodgers already looked scared. He had homered in Game 5. Then in Game 6, he hit 3 home runs on 3 straight swings. That made 4 home runs on 4 straight swings against the same team. The Steve Garvey watched the whole thing and later said Reggie beat them single-handedly. The fear was real, but so was the cost. The Reggie was great, and Reggie was a headache, and you're about to see why both things were true at the same time. I am Mason, and this is Baseball Icon. And if you already feel the hype around this story, use the hype feature and give this video some hype, because Reggie built his whole career on making people feel something before he even swung the bat. Here's the thing about Reggie Jackson. He was not just scary because he hit the ball far. He was scary because he made the whole game about himself. The pitchers feared the swing. Teammates feared the drama. The managers feared the ego. The whole clubhouses had to learn how to survive him. So yes, he was a legend. But the question that follows him is simple. Was the terror worth the damage? Let us look at the man, the swing, and the long list of people who lived through him. Their Reggie was shaped by pressure before he was ever famous. Full name was Reginald Martinez Jackson. Father was Martinez Jackson, a dry cleaner who had once played second base in the Negro Leagues. Father held him to strict standards. The nothing was ever quite good enough. That kind of home builds a certain kind of kid. It builds someone who learns to perform under stress and never show fear. Then came college. At Arizona State, Reggie was pushed hard by coaches Frank Cush and Bobby Winkles. They did not coddle him. They demanded more. And then came the hardest part. In the 1960s, Reggie played in the deeply segregated South. He went through hostile towns like Birmingham, Montgomery, and Macon. He faced ugly crowds and ugly treatment. He had to keep playing while people wanted him gone. All of this did something to him. It built a mental armor that most players never have. He learned to take pain and turn it into focus. He learned that pressure could not break him because he had already faced worse. But here's where the negative side begins. That same armor did not just make him tough. It helped create a man who seemed to believe pressure gave him the right to take over every room he walked into. He turned survival into armor. Then he turned that armor into ego. The thing that protected him also made him hard to be around. He came out of those years believing he was built for the spotlight and he was not going to share it. Now let us talk about the swing, because the swing was the start of the fear. The most hitters go to the plate trying to protect it. They try to make safe contact and put the ball in play. The Reggie did not think that way. He treated every at-bat like theater. He was not there to tap the ball. He was there to do damage. Swing was violent and sweeping. It created huge torque. He swung so hard that he often ended up overextended. Lower left leg could twist almost parallel to the ground. It looked like a man trying to hit the ball into another state. That swing missed a lot. The Reggie struck out 2,597 times in his career. That is a major league record. Nobody has ever missed more, but here's the strange part. The strikeouts were part of the fear. Every time Reggie struck out, he showed the pitcher something. He showed that he was not scared to miss. He did not care about looking bad. He only cared about the next chance to launch a home run. Though even a strikeout sent a message. It said he would keep swinging for the fences no matter what. Power numbers backed up the threat. Isolated power, adjusted for his era, was about 80% better than the average player. That means every pitcher who faced him knew one swing could change the game. Look at some of his big seasons. In 1969, with the Oakland Athletics, he hit 47 home runs with a .608 slugging percentage. In 1977, with the Yankees, he hit 32 home runs and slugged the 41. In 1980, with the Yankees, he hit 41 home runs and slugged 597. In 1982, with the California Angels, he hit 39 home runs and slugged the 532. By the end of his career, the totals were huge. He hit 563 home runs. He drove in 1,702 runs. His regular season OPS was .84. But here's the negative truth in all of that. The most hitters tried to protect the plate. The Reggie treated the at-bat like a stage. He was willing to look terrible if it meant he could look legendary. legendary one pitch later. That made him dangerous. Also made him selfish in style. His team had to live with both the blast and the empty swing. When it worked, it was magic. When it did not, the at-bat still belonged to him. The one day during a slump, teammate Jim Bouton tried to make him feel better. The Bouton reminded him that even if he struck out and the team lost, 1 billion people in China would not be affected. It was a way of saying, none of this is the end of the world. But Reggie could not think that way. Ego would not let him shrink. He saw himself as both the underdog and the overdog of the whole country. He believed every game he played had to carry historic weight. That is a heavy way to live, and everyone around him had to carry it too. The title of this video makes a promise. MLB legends explain how terrifying Reggie Jackson was. Let us keep that promise. We are going to count down the players, pitchers, and managers who lived through him, one by one. We will start near the bottom and work our way to the man who saw the worst of it. Each one tells you something different about the fear. The number 12 is Doc Ellis. To understand how hard Reggie could hit a ball, go back to the 1971 All-Star Game at Tiger Stadium. On the mound was Pittsburgh Pirates ace Doc Ellis. The Ellis grew up playing baseball in Watts, learning from former Negro Leagues pitcher Chet Brewer. He had real personal struggles, including a reliance on stimulants, but in 1971, he was pitching at a very high level. He came into the All-Star break with a 14-3 record. The Ellis also liked attention. Before the game, he said out loud that National League manager Sparky Anderson would never let two soul brothers start the All-Star game. He meant himself and American League star Vita Blue. The talk got people watching. In the end, both pitchers did start, but the night did not belong to Ellis. It belonged to Reggie. The Reggie came up to pinch hit for Vita Blue in the 3rd inning. The Luis Aparicio was on first base. The Reggie took one of those huge sweeping swings, and the ball took off. It flew up and out of the stadium and slammed into a light tower transformer on the right center field roof of Tiger Stadium. People could not believe it. The drive was estimated between 532 and 539 feet. Al Kaline and Ernie Harwell, two men who had seen everything in baseball, called it the hardest hit ball they had ever seen. And what did Reggie say after? He said he was just trying to meet the pitch and avoid a strikeout. Maybe that was true. Or maybe it was Reggie being Reggie. Either way, the lesson was clear. The one swing from this man could turn a whole event into a Reggie Jackson story. His power was real. Nobody could deny it, but even here, the moment got bigger than the game itself. The number 11 is Jim Palmer. The Jim Palmer of the Baltimore Orioles was one of the smartest pitchers of his time. He was known for clutch pitching and for staying calm in big spots. And he treated Reggie Jackson with extreme caution. On August 13th, 1969, Palmer threw a no-hitter against the Athletics. A no-hitter is one of the hardest things a pitcher can do. But even on that perfect night, Palmer walked Reggie 3 times. 3 times he chose not to give him anything good to hit. The later Palmer was honest about it. He said he was not trying to pitch around Reggie on purpose. He said he was simply throwing the ball away from the plate because he respected Reggie's power so much. That tells you something. A Hall of Fame pitcher in the middle of a no-hitter still did not want to challenge this one man. That is real fear. The not loud fear. The quiet, careful, respectful fear. But there's another side to this story, and it is not all good for Reggie. The Reggie respected Palmer right back. He admitted that Palmer was so good in the clutch that he rarely did any damage against him when the game was on the line. So Palmer proved something important. The Reggie was not unstoppable. The very best pitchers could handle him. They did it by refusing to feed his theater. They gave him nothing to swing at, and they took away his stage. That was the secret. You could not beat Reggie by matching his ego. You beat him by starving it. The number 10 is Bert Blyleven. Not every kind of fear happens at the plate. The Bert Blyleven knew that. The Blyleven admitted that Reggie's personality and presence could take over a clubhouse and take over the whole baseball conversation almost instantly. Think about what that means. You did not even have to face Reggie with a bat in his hands to feel him. He could walk into a room, start talking, and suddenly the room was about him. The talk was about him. The energy was about him. That is a different kind of scary. It is the fear of being erased. When one player's voice becomes bigger than the team, everyone else gets smaller. Their wins feel quieter. Their words feel less important. The spotlight follows one man, and the rest learn to live in his shadow. The Blyleven was not saying Reggie was a bad player. He was saying Reggie was impossible to contain. He filled every space he entered. For a teammate, that could be exciting. For a teammate who wanted his own moment, it could be exhausting. And that exhaustion is a real part of the Reggie story. The fear at the plate was loud. The fear in the clubhouse was quiet. The both were real. The number 9 is Rick Monday. The Rick Monday saw the same thing from another angle. The Monday said that Reggie's confidence bordered on arrogance. That was almost unbelievable. And that arrogance, in his eyes, made Reggie one of the most intimidating superstars in all of baseball culture. Now think about that word, arrogance. The confidence is a good thing in sports. A confident player helps his team. He calms people down in big moments. He makes others believe, but arrogance is different. The arrogance does not lift the team up, asks the team to serve it. That was the line Reggie kept crossing. His belief in himself was so huge that it stopped being just confidence. It became a force that everyone else had to deal with. When he was right, it looked like genius. When he was wrong, it still demanded the same respect. The Monday's point is simple, but sharp. When your confidence becomes arrogance, the people around you start paying rent inside your ego. They have to make room for you. They have to manage your mood. They have to live in your story instead of their own. The Reggie made people feel that every single day. The number 8 is Leo Durocher. The Leo Durocher was a baseball man who had seen generations of stars come and go. He was not soft. He was not easily impressed. And he was not always a fan of Reggie Jackson. But even Durocher, even a critic who did not love the man, had to admit one thing. The Reggie commanded attention unlike almost anyone else in 1970s baseball. When Reggie was around, eyes turned, cameras turned, the conversations turned, and that is the real center of the whole Reggie problem. Read that word again. He commanded attention. He did not always earn peace. He did not always earn trust. He did not always earn love, but he commanded the room every time. There is a difference between earning something and commanding it. When you earn respect, people give it to you freely. When you command attention, you take it whether people want to give it or not. The Reggie took it. He took the focus, the noise, and the spotlight, and he did not ask permission. Even his critics could not look away. They might roll their eyes at him. They might shake their heads, but they kept watching every single time, and that was exactly what Reggie wanted from them. That is power, but it is the kind of power that wears people down. The number 7 is Nolan Ryan. Here's a twist in the story. The man who scared everyone else knew what fear felt like too. The Reggie Jackson himself admitted that facing Nolan Ryan was terrifying. Think about that. The hitter who made pitchers sweat, the man who walked to the plate like he owned it, looked out at Nolan Ryan and felt the same fear he gave to others. This matters for 2 reasons. The first, it shows what kind of era this was. The baseball in the 1970s was full of frightening power arms. The Nolan Ryan threw as hard as anyone who ever lived. A fastball from him was a serious thing. The whole game was built around intimidation on both sides. The pitchers tried to scare hitters. The hitters tried to scare pitchers. It was a war every night. The second, it keeps Reggie human. It is easy to talk about him like a machine that only made others afraid. But he felt fear too. He just hit it better than most. And maybe that is why he respected real power when it was aimed back at him. But notice something even here. When Reggie admitted he feared Ryan, the story still turned into a story about Reggie's feelings, Reggie's respect, Reggie's view of the game. Even his fear became part of his legend. That was the strange gravity of the man. Everything bent back toward him. The number 6 is Mickey Rivers. Now we move fully inside the clubhouse. And Mickey Rivers is the perfect guide. The Rivers was a teammate who had a sharp sense of humor, and he could not help joking about Reggie. The Rivers once joked about Reggie's whole identity. He said Reggie's first name was White, his second name was Hispanic, and his third name belonged to a black man, so no wonder Reggie was all mixed up. It was a joke, but it showed something true. The Reggie was so big, so loud, so impossible to ignore that teammates were always reacting to him. They were always commenting, they were always trying to make sense of him. And that tells you a lot. When teammates are constantly joking about how loud one man is, it means the clubhouse is not calm. The Reggie was not just a teammate. He was a weather system. The people had to check the forecast before they walked in. Was he in a good mood today? Was he upset? Was something about to blow up? The Rivers was not alone. The whole Yankees clubhouse had a running commentary on Reggie. The Greg Nettles said it best of all. He said the best thing about being a Yankee was getting to see Reggie Jackson play every day. And the worst thing about being a Yankee was getting to see Reggie Jackson play every day. The same man was the joy and the burden. The same player you loved to watch was the one who wore you out. Then there was Daryl Knowles, who summed Reggie up in one short line. He said there was not enough mustard in the whole world to cover that hot dog. In baseball, a hot dog is a player who shows off. The Knowles was saying Reggie showed off more than anyone alive. Put those voices together and you hear the real clubhouse. The laughter, a little bit of resentment, all of it pointed at one man. That is the sound of a team trying to survive its own superstar. The number 5 is Catfish Hunter. The Catfish Hunter knew Reggie better than most. He played with him in Oakland and then again in New York. He saw the young Reggie and the famous Reggie. And he had jokes for both. The Hunter's most famous line cut right to the heart of the problem. He said Reggie would give you the shirt off his back, but then he would call a press conference to announce it. The stop and think about how sharp that is. It does not say Reggie was a bad man. It does not say he was unkind. It says even his kindness came with a show. Even a good deed had to become news. That was the real issue with Reggie, and Catfish understood it. His teammates did not just see a great player. They saw a man who turned every nice thing into self-promotion. The gift was real, but so was the spotlight he wanted for giving it. The Hunter had another joke that stuck when a candy company released the Reggie bar, a candy bar named after Jackson. Hunter said he unwrapped it and it told him how good it was. It is a perfect line. It captures a man so full of himself that even his candy seemed to brag. Now here's the key. These were jokes, not hatred. The catfish was not trying to destroy Reggie. He was laughing, but the laughs all came from the same place. They came from living next to a man who never turned the volume down. Day after day, season after season, the people closest to Reggie had to find ways to cope. The humor was how they did it, and the humor always circled back to the same truth. The Reggie was exhausting. The number 4 is Bob Gibson. Now we meet a pitcher who did not joke about much. The Bob Gibson was one of the most feared and combative pitchers in baseball history. He did not just want to win, he wanted to own the mound and everyone near it. The stories about Gibson are wild. Hank Aaron once warned his teammates never to stare at Gibson, never to talk to Gibson, and never to smile at Gibson. Even warned that if you charged the mound after a brushback pitch, Gibson would pay you back in a physical way. That is the kind of man Reggie had to face. And here's what is interesting. The Reggie actually liked facing Gibson. He respected that raw intensity. He said a direct pitcher like Gibson made his own job simpler. There was no trickery with Gibson, the no mind games, the just strength against strength. For a man like Reggie, that was almost a relief. But the best part of this story comes after both men retired. In an old-timers game, years after their careers, Reggie hit a home run off Gibson. And of course, Reggie being Reggie, he showboated around the bases. He could not just trot, he had to make a show of it. The Gibson did not forget. The next time the two men met in that kind of game, Gibson drilled him with a pitch. He hit him on purpose. The message was clear. The old baseball did not let disrespect slide, not even in a fun game between retired stars. The Reggie wanted theater. Theater brought payback. Still, Gibson respected him. He called Reggie a truly unique hitter, a man with the power to hit the ball out of any park in any situation. The coming from Gibson, that was high praise. This part of Reggie's story shows his deepest flaw. He could not resist showing off even when it cost him, even when it brought a fastball to the ribs. And that flaw showed up in dangerous ways during his career. The pitchers often threw at his head to take back the inside of the plate. The one bad night, Minnesota Twins pitcher Dick Woodson threw 2 straight pitches right at Reggie's head after Reggie had homered in his last 2 at-bats. The Reggie charged the mound, and a bench-clearing brawl broke out. The Reggie blamed the Twins manager for ordering those pitches, and that bad blood followed him for years. His need to dominate could also make him careless. Umpire John Shulock once ejected Reggie on July 27, 1979, for charging the mound during a game against the Angels. And in another game, Reggie hit a single off Lyman Bostock, then rounded first base and glared out at Bostock in right field, trying to look tough. While he was busy glaring, Bostock simply threw the ball to first and picked him off. The Reggie was so focused on being scary that he forgot the basic play. Ego cost him the base. That is the danger of his mindset in one small perfect moment. The number 3 is Billy Martin. If you want the clearest proof that Reggie's greatness came with a price, look at his manager, Billy Martin. The no one fought with Reggie more, the one shows the cost of him better. The trouble started before they were even on the same team. The Dick Woodson mound charge we just talked about, the one with the pitches at Reggie's head, Reggie blamed Billy Martin for it. He believed Martin had ordered the target on his head. So before Martin ever managed him, the two men already had bad blood. They were enemies first and teammates second. Then came 1977, and the trouble got much worse. That year, Reggie signed with the New York Yankees. The owner, George Steinbrenner, brought him in as an expensive free agent prize. The deal was so flashy, it was signed on a napkin. It even threw in a luxury Rolls-Royce worth $63,000. That was $11,500 more than the average baseball salary at the time. So Reggie did not just arrive in New York, he arrived like a king, and everyone knew it. It did not take long for Reggie to set the clubhouse on fire with his mouth. In July of 1977, he talked to sports writer Dave Anderson and called himself the straw that stirs the drink. He said he was the one who made the team go. And then he went further. He said the team captain, Thurman Munson, could only stir it bad. The Munson was the reigning most valuable player. He was beloved, and Reggie just insulted him in the newspaper. That comment did real damage. It alienated his teammates. It alienated Billy Martin. It told the whole room that Reggie thought he was bigger than all of them. The tension exploded in front of the entire country on June 18, 1977. The Yankees were playing the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. The Jim Rice hit a soft line drive to right field, and Reggie did not hustle after it. A bloop that should have been a single turned into a double because Reggie jogged. The Billy Martin had seen enough. He pulled Reggie out of the game right in the middle of the inning. When When Reggie got back to the dugout, it nearly turned into a fistfight on live national TV. The two men screamed at each other. The coaches like Yogi Berra and several players had to physically get between them to keep it from becoming a real brawl. The millions of people watched a manager and his star nearly come to blows in the dugout. After that, the jokes from Martin never really stopped. He once said that Reggie and George Steinbrenner were perfect for each other because one was a born liar and the other was convicted. He also took shots at Reggie's defense. He said Reggie's fielding problems did not come from a lack of ability. They came from the fact that Reggie just had trouble judging the ball and picking it up. These were not gentle jokes. They came from a manager who was tired of the noise, the drama, the ego, and the daily war of having Reggie on his team. And yet Martin knew the truth. He knew Reggie had enormous talent. He knew Reggie could change a game. That is what made it all so hard. You cannot just throw away a player like that. So you keep him, you manage him, and you pay the price every single day. The Reggie stayed defiant to the very end in New York. In 1981, his final season there, the Yankees lost the World Series and Steinbrenner publicly apologized to the fans for it. The Reggie refused to join him. He told the press he had nothing to apologize for, that he had tried his best. Then he packed up, left New York, and went on to find more success with the California Angels. Even his exit was on his own terms. Even leaving, he made sure the last word was his. The number 2 is Bob Welch. The most of this video is about the fear Reggie created. The number 2 is about a night when someone turned the fear back on him. It was the 1978 World Series, Game 2. The Dodgers were leading the Yankees 4-3 in the 9th inning. There were 2 outs and 2 runners on base. The game was right on the edge, and Dodgers manager Tommy Lasorda made a bold call. He brought in a 21-year-old rookie named Bob Welch to face Reggie Jackson. The Welch was young and fearless. He had a violent leg kick and a blazing fastball. He was the opposite of Reggie in every way. The Reggie was the seasoned star who loved the lights. The Welch was the kid who had not learned to be afraid yet. What followed became one of the most famous at-bats in baseball history. It lasted about 7 minutes. It went 9 pitches. The Reggie took those huge, violent swings and fouled off fastball after fastball as the count climbed to 3-2. The neither man would give an inch. The outfielder Bill North watched it and compared it to the 15th round of a heavyweight championship fight. He said both men had won 7 rounds, and now Welch was simply throwing everything he had left. The North said the at-bat could only end one of 2 ways: a home run or a strikeout. There was no middle ground. Then Welch reached back and threw a high, tight fastball. The Reggie swung with everything he had, and he missed the strike 3. The Dodgers won the game, and that rookie earned a new nickname. They called him the Iceman. Even in defeat, Reggie could not fully let the moment belong to someone else. He praised Welch's pitch and said the location was perfect. But then he added that if the pitch had been over the outer half of the plate, he would have hit it out of the park. Even when he lost, he found a way to remind everyone how close he came, how it was almost his. That is the trap of Reggie Jackson. The win or lose, he made the moment about himself. They Welch struck him out, and people still talk about how Reggie reacted to it. There is one more piece of the 1978 series that shows his ruthless side. During a rundown play, Reggie did something sneaky. He stuck his hip out on purpose to deflect a throw from Dodgers shortstop Bill Russell. The throw bounced off him, and a key run scored. The Tommy Lasorda exploded in anger, and he had a right to be angry because Reggie had bent the game to help his team win. His fear factor was not only about power, it was also the sense that he would do whatever it took, even cross a line, to come out on top. The number 1 is Steve Garvey, and the night that made Reggie immortal. To be number 1 on this list, you have to have seen the very worst of Reggie Jackson. The Steve Garvey did. He was standing on the field for the most terrifying single-game performance baseball has ever seen. And what makes his story so powerful is what he admitted afterward. Go back to the 1977 World Series. The Yankees and Dodgers were locked in a battle, and it came down to Game 6. But the fear started before the game even began. During batting practice, the Dodgers were watching from the third base line, and Reggie put on a show just for them. He hit between 35 and 40 balls into the right field bleachers, the one after another after another. The crowd at Yankee Stadium roared with every swing. His own teammate, Willie Randolph, yelled at him to save some home runs for the game. The Reggie just smiled and said he was feeling great. He was telling the Dodgers what was coming, and they had to stand there and watch. Then the real thing started, and it became one of the greatest single-game performances in the history of the sport. It actually began in Game 5. In the 8th inning, Reggie homered off Don Sutton, a late insurance run. That was home run number 1 of the streak. Then came 6, and it was almost unfair. In the 4th inning, Reggie faced Bert Hooton. The first pitch, an inside knuckle curve, and Reggie drove it into the right field seats. Home run number 2, in the 5th inning, he faced Elias Sosa. The first pitch, again, an inside fastball, and Reggie lined it over the right field wall. The home run number 3. And then in the 8th inning came the one nobody forgets. The Reggie faced knuckleball pitcher Charlie Hoff. The first pitch, a knuckleball, and Reggie launched it about 450 feet into straightaway center field. The home run number 4, the stop and added up. 3 home runs in one game on 3 straight swings. The 4 home runs across 2 games on 4 straight swings. Every single one on the first pitch he chose to attack. No human being is supposed to be able to do that. The last one is the most amazing. The Charlie Hoff threw a knuckleball, the hardest pitch in baseball to control and the hardest to catch. Once said his style was 90% knuckleballs and 10% prayers. The catching that pitch was a nightmare. The Dodgers catcher, Jim Sundberg, later said he had real nightmares about it, that he would wake up shaking from the stress of trying to catch Huff. The pitch terrified the man whose job was to catch it, and Reggie just tracked it and crushed it into the deepest part of the stadium. Now here's why Steve Garvey is number 1. The Garvey was the Dodgers' first baseman. He was the enemy that night. He had every reason to hate what he was seeing, but the show was so incredible that Garvey later admitted he secretly clapped inside his own glove as Reggie rounded the bases after that 3rd home run. He could not help it. He was supposed to be trying to beat Reggie, and instead he was quietly applauding him on the field. The Garvey also said the simplest, most painful thing of all, he admitted Reggie beat them single-handedly. The Reggie, one man broke an entire team, and Garvey added one more line that captures the cruelty of it. He said Reggie rounded the bases so fast that he did not even stay long enough for conversation. He hit the ball, ran, and was gone before you could say a word. There was no time to recover. There was no time to breathe. The damage spread to the Dodgers bench, too. In a mic'd-up moment, pitcher Doug Rauh argued with manager Tommy Lasorda. The Rauh insisted his pitch to Reggie had been well thrown, right on the inside corner. The Lasorda did not want to hear it. He yelled back that he did not care if Rauh jammed him, because Reggie still did not get out. That is what Reggie did to a team. He did not just beat them. He made them argue with each other. He broke their sense of control. This is the night that earned him the name Mr. October, and it is the heart of why this whole story is so complicated. Because here, the praise is undeniable. He was magnificent. He was everything he ever said he was, but even at his greatest, the terror was almost cruel. He did not just win, he took an entire team's confidence and shredded it in front of the world. He turned the World Series into his own personal stage, and he left the Dodgers standing in the rubble, some of them quietly clapping for the man who destroyed them. So how did the numbers explain a man like this? They explain him better than any quote. In the regular season, Reggie was great. He batted 2006-2 with a 356 on-base percentage, a 490 slugging percentage, and an 846 OPS. He hit 563 home runs and drove in 1,702 runs. Those are Hall of Fame numbers. But then look at the postseason. His batting average went up to 278. On-base percentage rose to 300. The slugging jumped to 27, and his OPS climbed to 85. He hit 18 home runs and drove in 48 runs when it mattered most. And then look at the World Series, the very biggest stage of all. There his batting average exploded to 300. On-base percentage soared to 450. Slugging percentage reached an incredible 755, and his OPS hit 200. He hit 10 home runs and drove in 24 runs in the games everyone remembers. To read those 3 lines again, the good in the regular season, the postseason, terrifying in the World Series, the bigger the moment, the scarier he became. And that is the answer to the biggest question about Reggie Jackson. Why did people put up with him? Why did teams tolerate the ego, the noise, the feuds, and the chaos? Because October kept proving him right. A normal player could never act like Reggie and keep his job. The Reggie could, because every fall he delivered on his huge promises. The numbers gave his ego a license that almost no one else in history ever had. So let us be fair and finish where the truth lives. The Reggie Jackson was terrifying. He scared pitchers with his power. He scared opponents with the moment. He scared teammates with his ego. He scared managers with his drama. He scared the whole sport because he could turn pressure into proof. And he left wreckage behind him. The broken trust, the public feuds, the tired clubhouses, the managers who nearly came to blows with him on live television. The terror at the plate came with attacks, and the people around him paid it every day. But here's the honest ending. Even with all the chaos, Reggie gave baseball something it can never forget. He made October feel dangerous. He made every at-bat feel like something could explode at any second. He turned a game into theater and a season into a story. He gave fans a reason to stay up late. He gave broadcasters a moment they would replay forever. He gave the sport a villain and a hero in the same uniform. That is why the legends still talk about him, even now. And that is why so often when they praise him, the praise still sounds a little like a warning. The Reggie Jackson was great, and Reggie Jackson was a lot, and the game has never quite seen anyone like him since.